Acceptance works through your body-mind system to catalyze spiritual awakening via this process. First of all, you unhook from anxious thoughts. Then you surrender to the present moment and situation. From where you can see the situation from source consciousness, not the mind, and that in turn enables you to see how and why the situation was created. In fact, it's the larger context of the situation, which in turn leads to truth and then peace and then spiritual awakening. I'll come back to this chart in detail later in this video. In my videos, I talk a lot about clearing trapped emotions, otherwise known as transmuting or energetic healing for mental health. These processes work alchemically through the body-mind system in that they transform difficult, conflicted emotions and their associated energies into their original, pristine, energetic condition from where peace and personal power can arise. Eventually, these processes can lead to spiritual awakening and even enlightenment. This particular video is about acceptance. Acceptance is also alchemical. It's actually a key part of clearing trapped emotions because it's the mechanism of action, if you like, of such healing and cultivation of power. The alchemy of acceptance can transform the most difficult of situations and traumas into peace, perspective, and therefore personal power. It can also, therefore, lead to spiritual awakening and enlightenment. Again, acceptance works through your body-mind system to catalyze spiritual awakening via this process. Before this takes place, however, when you may still be stewing over a situation and feeling uncomfortable emotions about it that you're trying to resist, you're very likely, albeit unconsciously, trying to solve the problem or situation with your mind. You may be trying to figure out a solution to a situation or dilemma with your mind, all the while imagining future horror scenarios with your mind, or maintaining a story in your mind about how you were wronged by others in the past, or believing negative thoughts in your mind about yourself and what you may have done. Whatever it is, when you use your mind to address key issues or moments of crisis, there will be an anxious churn of thoughts in your head. So a question to ask at this point is, why is that? Why does thinking create so much anxiety so often? This is a crucial point to know and relates to this video's topic about acceptance. Because is it the situation itself that creates anxiety, or rather the thinking about it? Well, anxiety is often synonymous with thinking because the thinking mechanism of action creates a gap between you and your current, truthful, real experience. Thinking creates a series of images about your current situation that captivate you, mostly with future horror scenarios or negative stories from the past. But those thoughts and images are not the situation itself. They're just images of future horror scenarios and past occurrences. They're not what's happening right now. So crucially, they're not the situation itself. They're just images of it. Moreover, those imaginary scenarios or past occurrences keep you magnetically beholden to them, so you then engage your mind, the same instrument producing the anxiety-laden images in the first place, to try and find solutions. However, you're still operating at a conceptual and image-based level, not reality. So you're trying to find solutions to future problems that don't exist, except for in your mind, with your mind. It's literally a mind-invented or mind-made mess. The mind is a domain of consciousness that is concerned with concepts, not the isness or beingness of things. But when it comes to the alchemy required to alchemize difficult emotions and their associated energies into pristine purity, from where peace and power springs, concepts can't cut it. They don't have the energetic ability to transform anything because there's a gap between them, since they're concepts only, and reality. Now, technically speaking, while thoughts do have energy, their level of energetic power is low. Therefore, thoughts can't transform or alchemize something they can't energetically have power over. It's physically impossible. Therefore, only something that can powerfully enter fully into conflicted energy spaces is capable of transforming them. That something must have a higher level of energetic power or vibration than those conflicted energy spaces. This something has to be you, or rather your consciousness or presence. So in practice, this means that by really being with something like a tough situation and all the emotions that come with it, by becoming one with it, your consciousness can alchemize all of it from conflicted to pure. Your thoughts can't do it, but your consciousness can. And the trigger for that consciousness is acceptance. So this is why thoughts often equal anxiety, because of the gap between you and your experience. In other words, thoughts equal anxiety because they're not true or deeper experience. Conversely, when you become one with your situation and any emotions you may have about it, which begins with acceptance, you become one with your experience. There's no gap. This is reality, not images. And alchemy begins here. So the key to working through a situation you may have at hand towards a major breakthrough in consciousness is to close the gap. You need to collapse any distance between you and the situation. So, literally the second you accept your current situation and just allow whatever emotions you feel about it to flow, the anxious mental churn stops. You've unhooked from anxious thoughts about the situation. There are no more anxious attempts at solving imaginary problems in fearful future scenarios, nor are there resentments about the past. There is only the situation and your true emotions about it. At this point, you've just started to close the gap between you and your situation. You're dissolving the boundary between you and it. In other words, you've just gotten less conceptual and more real. As you breathe deeper and deeper into that acceptance, a deep surrendering to the present moment, the situation, and your emotions takes hold. This is alchemy. Breathing ever more deeply, the boundary between you and the situation and you and your emotions about it dissolves completely. Via the alchemy of acceptance, you're now one with the situation. So then, where does this lead? Well, from this vantage point, the situation looks completely different. From the point of view of source consciousness, The situation is now just the situation. Horror scenarios associated with it literally melt away, and frantic mental solutions to it come to a stop because there's no need for them. Now that the horror scenarios have crumbled, there is no need for solutions. To be clear, the situation at hand may need a solution at some point. However, often at this point in the acceptance process, you realize that there is no need for a solution right now. You can just sit, rest, and be with the situation and see what arises from the divine intelligence of source consciousness and your life. And it's so much easier to be with the situation from this vantage point. The situation just is. It is life. Also, believe me, the solution arising from source consciousness will be literally infinitely more intelligent than anything the mind can produce, because divine intelligence is dealing with reality, not concepts. Moreover, and finally, in exactly the right amount of time, if you sit, rest, and be with the situation, you can see how and why it came about in the first place. A larger context of awareness and insight opens up to you. And this is a breakthrough. This is spiritual awakening, and this is peace. In this way, acceptance is the key mechanism of action for the spiritual awakening process.